We are in Greenwich to look at Ikea's first big London store opening in more than a decade. And as you might expect, over that sort of period of time, is a very different sort of store indeed. It's been designed with the community in mind, with all sorts of new uses. There are workshops, there's the world's first learning lab, and they're all the things that you would expect from a traditional Ikea. Hege, this is a very different sort of Ikea store from the one which most people will be used to. You describe it as a place where people can meet, share, learn and shop. Shop comes last. People might be surprised at that from a retailer. So how did you come to think of it in that way?
So of course our ambition was to design and create a leading sustainable store, and of course that phrase is not what we started with. It was very much a process of understanding our market, understanding the people of London, the community of Greenwich, and of course consumer trends and where things were going, etc., etc. So all of that taken into account, including community consultations, understanding what the people of Greenwich wanted and needed. We really took all that on board, and that is pretty much what came out of that process. So we know we're a leading e-commerce market. If people just want to shop, they'll do that online at home. This is very much about being a community hub, a place where people can come and meet with us and join with us. And we also know commercially it makes sense that we have a different role with consumers now. People don't want just a transactional, one-dimensional, one-way relationship. And we believe as Ikea, with our values, with the way we approach people and the way we care about people, that we could do something quite unique.
Yeah, I think the things you're talking about really reflect some of the big themes in retail more widely at the moment. Tell us a bit more about how the changes you're making reflect Ikea's wider strategy.
Well, I think it's a combination of how we are really moving towards city centres in general. We know that's where people are. People are moving to cities, and we want to be more accessible and meet people where they are. So that's part of our city centre approach as a company. But of course, also we looked at the trends, as you refer to, around how people move and behave in cities. In London, 45 to 50% of people don't own a car, for example. So how do you get your big items home? That's something we need to design for. You have niche movements like proliferation of maker spaces. People want to make again. They want to use their hands and learn skills that they didn't use otherwise. So, and again, we also wanted to really push ourselves when it comes to how do we meet people in a sustainable way. It's also part of our EV100 commitments around being a zero emissions company. How do we deliver products with zero emission vehicles, for example. So it's part of the movement that we are on, the journey we're on as a company, but it's equally part of this movement in society of the purpose of brands, the purpose of companies, and the importance of how companies operate in more sustainable ways.
Yes, and that's really interesting. You know, I'm sure most people would welcome a lot of these sustainability initiatives in their own right. But can you tell us a little bit more about how they also make business sense for Ikea?
I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think that's something that is absolutely clear for us as a company. Of course, from a values and DNA perspective, it's always been there in how we operate, but this is much bigger than that. You know, we rely on the resources that we turn into products. So from a just pure smart long-term business sense perspective, we need to value resources so that they will be around. You know, we use 100% more sustainable cotton. If we don't look after cotton resources, we won't have them in a few years' time. So that, from that point of view, it's quite clear. But what's also very, maybe not unique, and we hope not, it's sustainable and healthy living as a way to provide customers and consumers with valuable products, insights and behaviour around how to live more sustainably at home. But what's unique about what we've done here in the UK and Ireland is that we've developed a Live Lagom programme, which is about how you live a balanced lifestyle with the Swedish concept of lagom, which means just about right. So we're now in our 4th year. We've really trialled and tested what a kind of engagement programme with customers could look like. So now we have a yearly programme. It's gone from project to program. We've piloted this, and we've worked with a group of customers on a yearly basis for them to really trial how to reduce waste, how to reduce energy, how to grow their own food in their homes, starting from scratch. Not necessarily being a sustainability ambassador even, but how does that make a difference to the spend in their homes, but also carbon footprint and the quality of life in home. So that's something that we're going to be continuing growing, and you'll see it in the store as well. We've passed on the learnings from customers, what they've learned in their homes, and we're sharing that in some of the room sets here in Greenwich. And then we're also doing it at national level. So hopefully this is something we'll grow even further.
Very interesting, and a lot of change going on at Ikea at the moment, globally and reflected in the UK. So this store, this very different store, is the first big one in London in 14 years.
That's right. Right.
It follows hard on the heels of a new format, the Planning Studio in Tottenham Court Road. Where next for Ikea? How do you see things panning out for the business in the UK over the next few years?
Well, of course, we're going through a big transformation, not just as a company, but as a sector. And also the e-commerce side is really growing. The distribution side is becoming more important, and the city centre approach is becoming more important. And just layer on top of that, the experience part is becoming more important. So a very exciting and, of course, challenging time to work and be in retail. But we are certainly taking our city approach as the new future. How that will work in London is something we've already started. We're learning from that, and that will continue. So the city centre approach is absolutely critical, but e-commerce, of course, how do we work with that? How do we also apply our leading sustainability strategy in a new environment? So lots of opportunities to grow and change in multiple ways.